Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to power techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we have initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insights of various domains. The topic of today's session is applying risk management concepts to medical device software. Our guest speaker today is Mr. Pramod Kumar, Head of Product COEs at Newgen Software Technologies Limited. As Head of Center of Excellence for New Products and Solutions at Newgen Software Technologies Limited, Pramod is responsible for conceptualization, design, and marketing strategy for new products and solutions. Prior to his current role, he headed the R&D group in Newgen. Under his leadership in that role, his team constantly delivered innovative products and components, evaluated new technologies, and gave organizations long-term competitive advantage. In his 14 years of industry experience, he has filed more than 30 patents and published 3 research papers in the areas of document imaging, image processing, and business process management. Pramod has done his MBA from International Management Institute and Engineering in Computer Science from NIT Allahabad. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker. Over to you, Mr. Pramod.
Thanks, Neha. Thanks for the introduction. I think you just made a small mistake of introducing the content. So the content of today's presentation is actually enterprise content management on cloud.
Yeah.
Great. So, good afternoon, friends, and a very warm welcome. I would like to thank everyone for showing such a great response to this webinar. So as you can see, topic of today's discussion is enterprise content management on cloud, which is simple, affordable, and secure. So borrowing from the concept of golden circle, which was introduced by Simon Sinek from his inspiring video on TED, How Great Leaders Inspire Action, I'll take you through this presentation in 3 courses: why enterprise content management, how can you use it, and what's there for you. Talking about the why part, let's look at some interesting facts. Currently, 90% of corporate memory is still in paper. Filing of paper is doubling after every 3.5 years. Office workers lose up to 500 hours a year looking for documents. So this translates into nearly 3 months. On an average, professionals spend half of their time looking for information. A document gets copied 17 times in its life cycle. In an average organization, $20 is spent to file each document, $120 to find a misfiled document. 1 out of every 20 documents gets lost. And to reproduce this lost document, you spend another 25 hours. So these are some interesting data points that various research analysts have published. Now let me take you through some scenarios which we face often. So here's a gentleman who is not being able to service because he has gone to the headquarters to get service, and the headquarters says that since his documents are lying in a particular branch, they are not able to service it. So it's not that the organization does not want to service this gentleman. The only problem is that all the necessary content is in form of physical documents, which is lying in the particular branch where he does his business. Let's look at another scenario. So you'll find that most of the customer-facing offices are in prime locations. And if you have to share this prime location with documents, wherein documents occupy 1/3 of your office space, you can think of the prime state wastage that is happening because of these documents. But these cannot be done away also, because you have to provide efficient customer service, and that's why these documents are required there in the office. This is a regulatory gentleman, so he has to respond to various audits, and he has tough time in finding out the right documents from scattered branches, from scattered offices. And delays can actually translate into huge penalties and loss of brand name. Another scenario, because of the inherent nature of physical documents, you cannot have collaborative or work in parallel unless until the entire set is there with the person who is going to work on. He'll not be able to work. So if a work has to be done, it has to be done in sequence. This leads to higher turnaround time for any service. Moving ahead, how do you ensure the integrity of the physical file? Now this physical file is traveling to multiple desks. People can accidentally or knowingly take away certain pages. How do you ensure that the file is intact and no one has tampered with it, whether accidentally or knowingly? Then of course you can have natural calamities. Most of these documents are somewhere in the basements lying there. It could be rain, it could be fire, it could be rodents, it could be earthquake that can destroy these documents. So you can be liable for regulatory compliance. You are liable for multiple other things, since the documents can get lost during these natural calamities. So all in all, if you look at all these, this sounds very familiar. So a management is always cribbing that they do not have the right information at right time, so they are not able to take the right decision. The CFO is wondering, he is not getting good credit terms because they are not able to process the invoices on time. The sales and marketing is often cribbing that they don't get the updated case studies. The HR is worried about, because of the increase in headcounts, they are not able to effectively manage the personal records. The customer care is always trying to search for the right information which is missing. Legal is worried about there are many contracts, how to find out which is the latest contract and to act upon that. So these are the various situations or scenarios which all of us go through day in, day out. So having said that these are the various challenges, wouldn't it be great to have a solution wherein you can access the content at your fingertips whenever you want? So this access could be across business functions. So whether a particular business function produces that document or not, still he is able to access those documents and act upon it simultaneously. Access the content across geographical boundaries, whether you have offices in multiple places in India or in abroad, still they are able to look at those documents, work on them, collaborate on them, and take quick decisions. Whether you are working from office, whether you are on a move, or whether you are working from home, you have access to whatever content that is required for you to take decisions or to work upon it. So you see, if such a kind of solution is available, the driver for this solution can come from anywhere. It could be from customer focus that you require for a better customer service. It could come from cost to have better efficiencies, or it could be coming from a compliance angle where you want to like to mitigate risks. So all in all, you can see that documents is an essential part of an organization, and that has to be managed in a way so that they are available to the right person at right time, so that they are able to take decisions. So let's look at how this could be achieved. So before moving at how, let's understand first what an enterprise content management solution is. So the typical definition that's given is strategies, methods, and tools to capture, classify, organize, store, and deliver content and documents to its end users in a secure and timely manner is what is all enterprise content management is all about. So the end user could be various other applications, it could be business processes, or it could be different people in different departments using those content. Now, having understood enterprise content management largely as a technology, now as an organization, what you will have to do is understand the type of content that is important to your organization, and then how can you manage that content. So talking about content, this is how the content spectrum in any organization is. So primarily that can be divided into three halves. You have transactional content, you have collaborative content, and you have persuasive content. So transactional content are the ones that generally initiate outside the organization, and the volumes are pretty high. So typical examples could be invoices coming into your organization, various type of application forms, various type of onboarding forms. So typically the initiator is either your customer or your supplier. Then you have got collaborative content. Collaborative contents are the one that get produced inside the organization. So it could be sales proposal wherein the sales team has worked together to create that proposal. It could be a technical documentation. It could be a business plan. It could be a legal contract. So either teams or individual workers inside the organization produce these kind of content. Then you have got the persuasive content. So these are the contents that leave the organization. So they would be either going to your customers or to regulatory authorities. So it could be statements, it could be business correspondence that's going outside, it could be corporate communication, or it could be the messaging that you are giving on your websites. So you will have to classify your content into these three, have some kind of methodology to identify that these content are important for me to manage. And once you are able to do that, then you'll have to look at the right capture technologies to capture this content. So talking about the capture technologies, capture could be from mails. So you get multiple mails, you will like those documents as attachments in these mails to be captured. You would like to scan documents and then upload it into your repository. You would like, the organization would like that his field staff should be able to capture documents while they are on the move. So for example, if he's in front of a customer and he requires certain documents, he should be able to capture it through his mobile or tablet and then send it to the repository. Or you have already got certain content in your file servers that you would like to upload so that it is readily available to the requisite users. So your capture technology should cover all these possible dimensions. Now talking about mail, it should be as simple as that you can define certain IDs wherein someone can send a mail to that particular ID and automatically that attachment would get filed into your content repository. Scanning should be as simple as that only using your web browser you are able to scan documents, classify them or put certain data so that its searching can become easy, and then upload these documents into your content repository. You should be able to capture through mobile. So out here you can see that you can have your proof of identity or your proof of address documents which the person who is there on the field is able to capture using a tablet, index it and upload it onto the content repository so that people out there in the office are able to take decisions on those. So once you are able to capture your content, then you need to have the right strategy to classify these content and organize these contents so that search becomes easy on these content. So the organization of content could be based on a folder hierarchy. You can define a folder hierarchy in which you will like your content to be published. So these folder hierarchy could be based on various departments in your organization. It could be based upon years. It could be based upon type of documents. Say for example, it could be you have a folder for invoices, you have a folder for contracts, you have a folder for personal records. So whichever way you can define your folder hierarchy. Then for every type of document, you can define the way in which you would like search to happen. So for example, if it is invoices, then you can define that while I'm trying to capture invoice, I'll always put in the vendor code, the invoice number, the invoice date, and the reference number so that later on when I have to access, I can quickly access these invoices. Similarly, you can define the index for, say for example, the policy documents that come to your organization. So you can have policy number, customer ID, name, date of birth, DOC, and then, so when you have these index fields defined, searching becomes very easy on these documents. Once you have classified and organized this content, now your system is ready for usage. And if someone requires a document, he only needs to search for that document. So he can search either parsing the folder hierarchy or he can do a search. So he can quickly search on the various parameters that you have defined. So you can quickly search on that. Or you can even do a full text search. So full text search means whatever the content of the document is, you can search on that content of that document. So once you do the search, you will get all the requisite documents that are meeting those search criteria, and then you can start working on them. Thing that you have to ensure is that you should not require any installation for doing all these. A web browser should be sufficient to have all these functionalities. Once you are able to search, you can start working on these documents. So you don't require particular applications to be installed on that system to be able to view those documents. You should be able to view all those documents from a web browser. You should be able to work on those documents. You should be able to write your notes, comments, use annotation over the document so that the other person who is going to work on this document is able to see whatever you have done on that document. And you can access these documents even from your mobiles or tablet. So in tablet also, while you are on the move, you can log into this content repository, search these documents and view these documents so that you can work on it. So broadly try to cover the how part of it. So how is you have to have the capture technology. You have to have a methodology for organizing your content and then working on that content. Now I'll talk about the what part, so what is therein for you. So now interestingly what I have captured is enterprise content management, and now the marriage of enterprise content management and cloud makes this wonderful solution affordable and simple to be used by any organization. So if you look at the benefits that you are going to get, the first thing is quick startup. So neither your IT nor your procurement will have to wait for the lengthy procurement cycles to buy a server, buy requisite application softwares, install them, and then make it ready to run. So you can start in this marriage scenario of ECM and cloud, which is available on public. You can start right from day one. There is no startup cost. So since you don't have to buy servers, you don't have to buy application softwares, you don't have to buy any other thing, there is practically zero startup cost. Low cost of ownership. So research has shown that the public solutions that are available on public cloud are typically 1/3 the cost of what an in-premise solution would look like. So the best thing is you are getting enterprise class functionalities and features at 1/3 the cost, and that too a running cost. You don't have a startup cost for that. It's highly reliable. So once you are able to identify a right cloud partner, so in our case what we have done is partnered with Amazon Web Services. It's highly reliable. In fact, what Amazon says is their downtime is 72% less than the best of the data centers that an organization could afford. So you see, if the data center of Amazon or the cloud infrastructure of Amazon is down even for 15 minutes, it becomes an international news. So such is the pressure on them to have this highly reliable 99.9% readily available to you. You get the industry best practices. Now since the deployment is there on a cloud architecture which could be managed centrally, you get best of both the worlds. So you get the best practices as well as you get the best software functionalities. And since it can be controlled centrally, you always have 24/7 support, which otherwise would be a very costly affair if you have to manage internally. The other things that practically you can forget is the IT infrastructure procurement. So no need of procuring any physical servers, any operating system, databases, application server, storage. You can just remove them from your list. Free from maintenance and updates. Need not worry about hardware upgradation every 3 years. Need not worry about various patches that are coming for operating system or application software. The antivirus updates that keeps coming daily. You don't need to have a highly skilled IT workforce to ensure that your systems are running up and smooth. You don't need to put your system for downtime for maintenance. You can forget about a very important thing, that's disaster recovery. So you need not maintain a separate physical location wherein you would be putting all these things. No need to plan for regular backups. Execute the DR exercise. Scalability. So you can scale your solution up and down depending upon your business requirement. You don't need to plan your infrastructure well in advance. So depending upon your need at that particular moment of time, you can scale accordingly. Now this is interesting. So typically wherever I go and talk about our cloud solution, practically every time most of the discussion would come around security. How secure is my data on cloud? So I can kind of assure you that in many cases, data security at cloud using our application is most of the times more secure than your data centers. You can look at the type of certifications that Amazon has done to ensure the security. So all world-class standards that are available, Amazon has gone through it, whether it is ISAE 3402, which is the latest standard, or ISO, or FIPS. So you are practically, you should not worry about the security concerns. Then on top of it, you have the security functionalities of the application. So you have got, you ensure the access of the application through various access rights. You have got audit trails. Each person, whatever he has done, there is an audit trail for that. All access is through the SSL and HTTPS protocols, so ensuring security of the content that is there while in transit. You are enforcing right password policies. So this is what you get out of the enterprise content management solution on cloud. Now a bit about my organization, Newgen Software Technologies Limited. In fact, we are very proud organization to be working in the product space. So primarily we are there, we are working with 3 products that we have. So enterprise content management, business process management, and customer communication management. So if you look at outside US and Europe, we are the only product company which is there into the Gartner Magic Quadrant and Forrester Wave report for these products. So it's a great proud feeling for us. We are the #1 organization in this part in India and other high growth regions. We have done the world's largest document management deployment, wherein in our repository some 8 billion documents are residing, accessed by 25,000 people across 100 different offices. We are the #1 software product company to have filed patents in India. Just to give an idea of the our customer base, so 9 out of top 10 banks in India use our solution. 7 out of top 10 insurance companies in India use our solution. 7 out of top 10 BPOs use our solution. So, and these are some of the testimonials that various analyst firms have given us. So we have been continuously there in the Magic Quadrant of Gartner and the Forrester Wave report, the decision matrix from OVM. So with this, I primarily covered the webinar. Now I would, if you want to get more details, you can visit our website, that is http www.nugensoft.com/cloud. Open to questionnaire. So if you have any queries, any questions, we would be happy to answer that.
Thanks for the insightful presentation. Let's quickly take up the questions now. Please read out the questions and their answers so that all our users may listen to the commendable insights.
Okay, so I think there's a question from Mr. Ajay Arora. Hi, can you search for content in scanned documents? The answer is yes. So when you upload scanned documents, you can extract the data using the OCR technology, and this data also becomes part of the metadata, and on this metadata the search can happen. So primarily all your scanned documents, you can OCR them so that you are able to search them for the content inside the scanned document also. Hopefully I was able to answer. Let me read other questions. There is a question from Neha Jadhav. What is the difference between ECM and WCM? Okay. Thanks Neha for this question. So ECM stands for Enterprise Content Management and WCM stands for Web Content Management. So web content management is a subset of enterprise content management. So whatever data is there on your web, so that is also part of content, and so web content management is a smaller subset of your enterprise content management. Then there is a question, how does ECM stack up against physical records management? So the answer is ECM has a part for records management wherein you can define the policies for retention and disposition of documents. So you can have policies as in these documents have to be there in my record management system, say for example 5 years. After 5 years automatically there would be a reminder whether you want to keep these documents or remove these documents. The other part of record management in the enterprise content management is wherein you can define where exactly the physical document for that electronic copy is. So in that electronic copy you can write down, you can mention that this physical record is there in this particular warehouse, in this particular floor, in this particular box. So you can have that map ready with you. Okay, there is a question from Mr. Sita Raman N, where he talks about, is internet bandwidth an issue in emerging country like India? I feel with the current 3G or the kind of bandwidth that is there in India and the kind of application that we have, so you'll be glad to know that our enterprise content management solution was released way back in 1994, wherein at that point of time bandwidth was a huge challenge. So what has happened because of that the entire solution has been architected in a way to have this bandwidth constraint in mind. So whenever we are uploading documents from, whenever we are capturing documents and uploading it to the content repository, we are ensuring that the best compression technology gets applied on those documents before it gets stored into the content repository. In fact, the mobile capture solution that we have, one of the typical constraints we were facing was because of the 2G network. Sending data across on a 2G network while capturing through a mobile or a tablet was a very challenging exercise. So what we did, we worked on the imaging, we developed that imaging algorithm wherein we were able to reduce the sizes right from 600 KB to 30 KB. So now one page can be 30 KB while you're transmitting your data from your mobile or tablet to the content repository. So you can do that while you are in the field. I think there was a question from Vishal Jani, is document size a challenge for cloud? I think in fact you need not worry about the document size, because what cloud provides you is kind of a huge redundant storage. So you can scale up, you can scale down at your will. There's a question from Mr. Sudha. Let me search again. Sudak Sinha Basu. Sudak Sinha Basu. So sorry for my pronunciation. Do we have role-wise access privilege for particular departments, say HR, marketing, customer care? A very correct question. Yeah. So you can define various roles and then you can assign people for these roles. So when you design a role, you can put in various security privileges based on these roles, and then you can assign people to these roles. And based on these roles, so these roles could be that he can view only, he can modify, he would be able to delete. So all those things, depending upon the role, he would be able to take actions on it. There's a question from Neha. Hi, can you elaborate on the differences between in-premise and partner-based cloud? So in-premise is typically wherein you have purchased the licenses and you have deployed the software in your premise on your servers. And a partner-based cloud network is again a partner is having his data center which he is using to service the customers. So if the solution is built in such a way, in a multi-tenant architecture way, he would be able to use the same infrastructure to service multiple customers. There's a question from Mr. Ashish Mishra. If a customer wants to exit from cloud to local setup with the other product, does it support migration adapter for other ECM product in the market? Yes, Ashish. So our solution, you can, if you decide to exit from, so we would provide the entire data to you so that it could be migrated to any other industry-leading ECM solution. There was a question, what about the licensing cost? I think you can go to our website and you'll find in detail about the licensing cost. There's a question from Mr. Jagdeep. How are my documents secured both during transmission and when stored? So while transmission, you are using the HTTPS protocol. So all the data that is in transit has been kind of encrypted, and this encrypted data is sent across. So even if there is, if someone is able to hack that network, he'll not be able to make sense of that data. And while it is there in the location, these images are again kept in an encrypted. These images or content are kept in an encrypted manner. So even if it gets compromised, no one will be able to make sense of that encrypted data. There's a question from Mr. Sarthak Banerjee. Is it possible to use load balancer and multiple installation of ECM solution for horizontal scalability over cloud? Yes, Sarthak, the solution is horizontally as well as vertically scalable. So you can deploy, you can have the load balancer. So typically all this, you need not worry about these things because that would be taken care by the solution itself. So if your load increases or if your number of people increases, automatically it will be scaled horizontally or vertically. Yes, there's a question from Mr. Prakash Paneer Silvam. if I want to share a set of files to our client, is it enough if we just send a link? Yes, Prakash, you would be able to collaborate with people outside the system also by sending him link. So he would be able to access those documents and work on it. I'd like to thank Mr. Manjunatha, who has liked my presentation. Thanks, Mr. J.K. Manjunatha. There's a question, can I upload and save rich media content from Mr. Sajal Gupta? Yes, you can store any type of content in the content repository. I'm just trying to read a long question. There was a question from Mr. Venkat Raman, Ganpati Raman. Corporates are quite particular about the security of data. Under the recent revelations of snooping, etc., how do you guarantee security and secrecy of data? Any business data could be kept secret under this competitive world. So, Mr. Venkatraman, the way we ensure security is, of course, the policies and all the security policies that you would be deploying out there. We would be sharing. Then, apart from this, you have got audit logs. So, typically, any kind of access to your application or any kind of access to the content made by anywhere would get logged in. So, you have access to that audit log, wherein you can see who is accessing this content. So through this kind of you're knowing who are the people who are accessing your system, and you can have a, then there are various security certifications that we have shown you that we have undergone those security certifications. The application has got through multiple security tests done by, you can see in the last I have mentioned that 9 out of top banks are using our system. So not on cloud definitely, but even in on-premise they have run that application through multiple tests to ensure secrecy of that. Even with Amazon we have done multiple penetration testings.
There is another question from Mr. Pankaj Jain who says, how is different level of access made possible? For example, if I want to have producer A and B producing multiple documents, and then there are consumers who consumes this document, and if we understand it rightly, the intent is that producer should be able to produce and consumer should be able to only consume. So yes, this is possible. We have access privileges and access right configuration in the system, where multiple things like modification access permission or read-only access permission, so on and so forth can be configured. So you can have a policy defined where a particular set of users can only contribute in terms of document and other artifact in the repository, and you can define a set of users who can only access this. So yes, this is very much possible. For all pricing related and licensing related queries, you can visit to our website. You will have all contact number and details available there.
There's again a question from Mr. Venkat Raman. How are you able to support without any downtime when the cloud servers would require maintenance, servicing, etc.? So, Mr. Venkat Raman, the best part with cloud is that you can quickly replicate that particular solution. Since the data is lying somewhere else, if you want to have a downtime on the application server, you can free that application server and you utilize a different application server instantly. So the downtime can be planned, and this planned downtime is very minimal, and typically it's done at those business hours wherein people don't use that solution. And there's a question from Mr. Prakash, what is the maximum size of the file? There is no particular limitation on the maximum size, but as an organization, you can define policies if you want to limit the size of particular content. So you can define, say for example, any file more than 10 MB should not get uploaded, or there should be someone should review it before these files gets uploaded. So you can define those policies.
There is another question from Mr. Anshul. So his question is about the adoption of ECM in the Indian market and in the companies. He is saying that, you know, still today many organizations are using paper, and how do we see that these companies will in future adopt ECM? So yes, the ECM adoption over a period of time has been very, very good, and it is on the still on, you know, increasing curve, and we see that more and more companies adopting ECM from regulatory standpoint to increase their internal productivity, to gain the competitive advantages, and, you know, all of that we just discussed in our presentation.
In fact, just to share some research data, out of the entire IT portfolio's product stack, ECM has been predicted both by Gartner, Forrester, as well as NASSCOM, that ECM would be growing at a pace more than 15% for next 5 years. There's a question from Mr. Anshul. Is it possible for files to become corrupt on the cloud or any sort of loss due to server glitches? Anshul, a very good question. So if I talk about the technical architecture, the way the content gets stored. So for all content, there are 7 copies, redundant copies that are getting stored in the cloud. So you are ensured, so even if there is a server glitch, your data is always safe. So you have 7 copies across different locations being saved. This question from Mr. Sita Raman, which are the top 5 industry domains that use ECM on cloud? So the top 5 industries, the top ones using are banks, insurance organizations, financial institutes, BPOs, shared services, and now we see an increase of ECM usage in the government space and telecom also. So these are the 5 industries that typically are using ECM technologies.
So there is a question from Mr. Deepak Singh, who is referring to the performance testing of the document management system if it is available on cloud. So Mr. Deepak, this is where the cloud brings maturity and value to the customer, because unlike any in-premise system, you are not worried about getting, things like performance regression, compatibility and all those testings, again do it for your enterprise, because these are well benchmarked systems, and on a particular bandwidth you already know that how the system is going to perform. So now these, when it comes to cloud, these are not as relevant as it was with in-premise.
There's a question from Mr. Gautam Upadhyay. Why do we need cloud computing? Why not N computing? Advantages of cloud computing. So actually, Gautam, it's N computing only. So as I told you, the scalability can be horizontal or vertical. So you can keep on scaling the solution horizontally or vertically.
So there is a question again from Mr. Sitaraman. He is asking that can we remove duplicacy or duplicate records in any repository or in the repository on cloud? So answer is again yes. So there are multiple options available in which the duplicate can be identified, and it is in fact in some of the use cases it becomes very, very important. Say for example, when a legal discovery is being done in an organization or in a repository, you would surely like to remove duplicate items before you hand over those results to attorney or to as an evidence to auditors. So yes, there are technologies available, things like hash coding and identifying duplicacy is all there in the enterprise content repository.
Sitaraman has asked for the name of our product. So name of our product is OmniDocs. Just trying to read a large question.
So there is a question where I am not sure if I comprehend it completely, but it says that in case of outsider accessing, can my auditor annotate any document and my MD can see the changed record only? So, I mean, outsider can access only if the access permission is granted, and whatever access and changes are done in a way that the audit log, so it is ultimately done in a controlled way. And you can always have policies set up where in a critical section of your repository, if any changes are done and you want senior management to be alerted immediately, so that can always be configured. So if we understood it rightly, then the changes are done in a controlled way, and then alert and only modified sections can be presented to the senior management in case if they want to see what changes are being done.
There's a generic question from Mr. Chandra R. Can I know the difference between public and private cloud? I think there's lot of buzz around cloud. You can find a lot of information around this. Just to answer it very briefly, so private cloud is again a cloud infrastructure, but you are kind of ensuring that particular infrastructure is being utilized by that organization only. So even though the solution is based on a multi-tenant capability wherein the same infrastructure can be used by multiple organizations, you are restricting the usage of that particular infrastructure for a particular organization. Whereas in public, the same installation can be utilized by many organizations. So same solution or one single setup is being utilized by many organizations. There is a question from Mr. Amritanshu. As cloud apps being accessed from multiple endpoints, securing all access point at all times verges impossible. So how can it be secured? So not all people can access your solution. So only the ones that have got the rights would be able to access the application. And all these access controls are predefined, so a person who has been given right can only access it. So whatever channel he is accessing it, whether on a mobile tablet or from his laptop, from office or from home, unless until he has got the right access, he will not be able to access the solution.
So there is a question from Mr. Pankaj who says, can Newzen provide API which can be used in my own custom solutions? So answer in the context of Newzen product and solutions in general is yes. It provides API for all document management and workflow operations, and you can develop a new application on top of our engine, or you can integrate it with your own core applications. There is a question from Mr. Anshul, which says, does it possible to store a copy along with cloud valued in local network failure? I mean, technically it is always possible, but it will defeat the purpose of moving away from in-premise installations. So better approach would be that you go for a redundant network link. So in case if one local network link fails, then you can have other link as a redundancy. So cloud is useful only when it is used in its own complete sense. How can we make the accessibility of information on cloud or anything fast?
There is a question from Mr. Prem Kumar Raju. What are the risk factors if I move to ECM, or the limitation of ECM like retrieval, security, etc.? So, Prem, the risk is very limited because one, you are on cloud, so one is that you can quickly start up, and once you decide that you are not getting the value of what you thought, you can always backtrack and you can always pull back your data from cloud and have it in premise. And there is no huge cost because you are paying only while you are using. So it's pay as per use. So the risks, the monetary risks are very limited. I think the time's up. Thank you all for these interesting questions. What we'll do is we'll try to compile the ones that we were not able to answer because of time, and we'll send it across to the respective gentlemen. So you can share your email IDs. So my email ID is pramod, PRAMOD, @newgen.co.in. You can send in your queries at this, and I'd like to answer all your queries. Thanks once again. I'd like to thank Times of India group for providing this wonderful opportunity, and thanks all the participants who patiently listened to me. Thank you.
I'm really thankful to our guest speaker for conducting this webinar. It was indeed a great session. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of the webinar will be available on techgig.com by tomorrow. Thank you all.